Hi everyone, and welcome to the Stitch Sessions. We are going to work on a sweet little baby project today. If you're new here, I'm Karen, and I love all things to do with crafting with crochet. If you're not new here, welcome back. I'm always excited to hang out with you guys and tackle a brand new project. So a few projects ago, you may recall that we worked on the Little Darling cardigan, and that was for a new arrival coming to the family. And so I've also gone ahead and done some matching baby socks. Now, I've also done a tutorial on baby booties, which is constructed slightly different. So in the booty project, we started by creating the flat sole and then building the little shoe up and then the cuff. With the socks, we are going to start by creating the toe portion first and then crocheting in the round, moving up through the heel and then continuing on to the little cuff. And you can keep it just like this, or you can roll it down and give it a sweet little booty effect. I still feel like it looks like a sock to me. This is perfect for, especially if they have a baby that's being born in the fall, like this particular baby is at the middle of fall, end of September, early October, it looks like. And so this will be perfect to keep their little tootsies warm throughout the fall and the winter months. So this pair is actually crocheted for a 0 to 3 month old baby. And I know they're going to use it because of the time of year that they are born. So if you have a little one that's being born in March, let's say, they might get an initial use out of those socks, but you might want to crochet it for an older child so that by the time that fall or winter comes around, it will fit them nicely. And if you're looking for a sizing chart, just visit my website at crochetcrafty.com and you will find a baby sizing chart for all your garments. Right at the bottom, you'll see a little spot for booty length and booty width. So for this project, the booty length is what you're looking for, and that's the length of the foot. So mine is 3.5 inches or 9 centimeters. So if I take my little measuring tape here and I just go from toe to heel, just like that, you're going to get about 3.5 inches, which works out to 9 centimeters. Okay, so this is perfect. And the other thing is it's got some stretch. So I think this will be good to go for, pretty much up to 4 or 5 months for this child. So I did it in the white with a little bit of the green trim to match that Little Darling cardigan. I'm going to make a second pair now with my leftover green yarn and I'm going to create a little white trim. So there's going to be a couple of sets of baby socks to go with that cardigan. So let's talk about these materials that we're going to use to create our baby socks. So like I said, I'm using some leftover yarn from that cardigan project, and it's the True Boo yarn by Lion Brand. I adore working with this yarn for baby items. It is 100% rayon from bamboo. It comes in a 100-gram skein, which contains 241 yards or 220 meters of this yarn. And by the way, anytime you're working on things like baby socks, I really recommend using a lightweight number 3 or lower. So a light 2 or a fine weight number 1. You can use a medium weight number 4. Some medium 4s are a little bulkier than others. Just because it is for a very, very smaller foot, it may get trickier to work in the finer little corners, I like to call them, of the project. So for things like baby socks or baby booties, medium 4 is okay, but I always like to use a lightweight number 3. But totally up to you. That's my recommendation. Now, as much as I adore it, the only thing that I would say is a little bit of a pain in the butt is that the way it's spun can be a bit splitty. So see if I unwind that a little bit. So sometimes it's a little bit on the splitty side, but I'm willing to overlook that for this yarn. I love it so much. So I've got some white left over here, some green. You will not need much to make these booties. You could probably get several pairs in one of these skeins. So I just happen to have these left over, so I'm going to use that for my colorway. And I have 2 hooks that I'm going to be using for the basic project. I'm just going to be using a 4mm hook, which is also known as a G or a size 6. And that's for the main body of the sock. And then for the trim, I'm going down a little bit in the hook size, and I'm going to use my 3.75mm hook, which is also known as an F or a 5. You can even go down a little bit lower in hook size than that, because I didn't want the trim to kind of take over. Okay, so I used a smaller hook size. It's totally up to you. As always, make sure that you have a yarn needle and a pair of scissors so you can snip your yarn and weave in your ends. So let's get started creating our baby socks. Okay, so this pair is going to be green. And so I'm going to start with my green color first. And by the way, in case you're wondering, this color is mint, if you're looking for it in the store. And I think only Michaels carries this yarn exclusively. I haven't seen it anywhere else, but if you've seen it elsewhere, do let me know. I want to make sure that if people want access to this, if people want to know where they can get this, that I can give them the right information. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to begin by creating a cinch circle. So we're just going to bring that around my 2 fingers there. So there's a little ring. Now I'm going to take my hook and I'm just going to pull it through. So it's kind of like a slip knot, but we're not going to cinch it tight. And once you've got it there, you're going to chain 1 to secure the ring. Okay, just like that. You can use like a chain 4, chain 5 method if you like, but I really prefer the cinch circle anytime I'm creating projects where I really want to make sure that that center is cinched in nice and tightly. Okay. Okay, so from here we're going to chain an additional 2, and this is just going to help give me a little bit of height for us to work double crochet stitches. And we will not count this as a stitch in this particular project, okay? So we're going to now yarn over, and into this circle here, we are going to place a double crochet stitch. And it's always a little bit wonky at first because you've got to hold the stitch and the circle as well. So you've got a double crochet. And now we're going to go back into the ring, and you're going to keep doing this until you have a total of 12 double crochet stitches. Okay, I've done my 12 double crochets. I got a bit excited and started to cinch it in. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull that tail, and that's what's going to cinch in your stitches nice and tight in the center, just like that. And now what you're going to do is you want to find the top of the first double crochet. We're going to ignore that chain 3 and the top of that first double crochet stitch. Let me just point that out for those of you that are a little bit newer. Okay, so these are the chain 3s. We're going to ignore that. This is the top of the first full double crochet stitch. So that's what we're going to slip stitch into to close off round number 1 of our toe. So this is just the tip of the toe of the sock. Okay, just like that. Round 1 is complete. So now we're going to go on to round number 2. We're going to chain 2, and the chain 2 is not going to count as anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back into that same stitch. See where we slip stitch? We're going to place 2 double crochets into that same stitch. So we're going to go back in there, just like that. And that's what we're going to do into every stitch all the way around. So into the next stitch, we're going to place 1 double crochet, and then we're going to go back in and we're going to place a second one. So at the end of round 1, we had 12 stitches. At the end of round 2, you want to have 24 stitches. So I'm going to meet up with you once you get to the end of round 2. Okay, so I'm at the end of round number 2 and I have 24 stitches. So if you ever get up to the end and you're unsure, just go back and count, okay? So our chain 3 here, or chain 2 I should say, does not count as a stitch. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the top of that first double crochet stitch there, and that's where we're going to slip stitch to join. Okay. Now we're going to go on to round number 3. So at the end of round number 2, we've got 24 stitches. And the last round, what we did is we chained 3 and then we worked right away back into that same space. Now, I'm not going to do that for this round. What I like to do is I like to alternate. Every even numbered row, we will always, after we chain 2, we're going to go back into the same stitch. Every odd numbered row, when we chain 2, we're going to go into the next stitch to begin. And then I'll tell you what's going to happen at the end. And this helps to keep the seam of our sock in the same spot so it doesn't kind of start to lean. You'll see what I mean as we go along. So we're no longer going to increase anymore. We've got our 24 stitches. This is the same number of stitches you want to have for several rounds now. So we're going to start by chaining up 2. And like I said, we're not going to work into the same stitch this time. We're going to start right away into the next stitch, and we're going to place a double crochet into the next stitch there. And we're only going to place 1 double crochet into each stitch all the way around. And we still want to have 24 stitches. Okay, so I'm coming up to the end of my round. You can see it's starting to curl up. That's normal. We want that to happen. So I'm actually just going to work it that way. And so when you count, you're going to notice, I only have 23 stitches. And that's because, remember this chain 2? We went ahead. We're now going to place our 24th stitch in that same stitch. So remember, we're ignoring our chain 2. We're going to go right into that stitch. That's going to give us our 24th stitch. And that's going to give us a nice snug closure. And now we're going to go to the top of that first double crochet and slip stitch. See how nicely that closes it up? And our seam is pretty much hidden. So now our work has started to curl up. And this is perfect because now we're starting to kind of build the foot part of our sock. You're now going to continue to repeat round number 3 for 5 more rounds. So we want to have a total of 8 rounds. Okay, so we've already done 3, no more increases right now. So starting round number 4, you would again begin by chaining 2. And this time, remember, we didn't go into that immediate stitch in the last row. So this time you are going to go into that first stitch, double crochet, and as we did before, 1 double crochet into each stitch. And every round up until round 8 right now should remain with 24 stitches every single time. Okay, so I've now finished round number 8, and you've got something that looks like this, looks like a little mini cap. And now we're ready to form the heel of our sock. So we should still have 24 stitches around the way. We want to take that number and divide that by 2, and that leaves us with 12. So we are now going to double crochet for 12 stitches. That's just my tail there. I've got to weave in. So we're going to start round number 9 by chaining 2 as usual. And I am going to go right back into that stitch there. So chain 2 does not count. And I'm going to double crochet. And I'm going to double crochet until I have 12 stitches. Okay, so I have 12 stitches. Okay, and so that way when I fold my sock like that, you can see this is the beginning of the heel. So we are forming now this little portion here. It's going to come up and bend around. Okay, so now we're going to go on to row 10. So we are now working in rows. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to chain one this time, and I'm going to turn my work. So we are going to decrease the number of stitches on each side of row number 9. So this chain one is going to kind of count as that decrease. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my hook into that first stitch there. I'm going to start that double crochet as I normally would, but I'm not going to resolve it. I'm then going to go into the next stitch and begin another double crochet. I'll only pull through the first two, and now I kind of have 2 half double crochets that are half started, but I have 3 loops on the hook. Now I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. And now you've got 2 stitches that have been reduced to 1. So that's the first decrease. Now I'm going to proceed to just place 1 double crochet into each stitch, just 1 into each until I get to the end, but I want to stop when I have 2 stitches left, because what I need to do is I need to decrease those last 2 stitches into 1. Okay, and I have 2 stitches left. I have 1 and 2. Remember that little chain 2 doesn't count as anything. So I'm going to insert my hook there, pull up a loop, and not resolve this double crochet. Now I'm going to yarn over and go into the next stitch and begin a double crochet there, and just pull through the first 2 loops. So there's 2 double crochets that are not finished. Now I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3. So that's been reduced as well. So row number 9, we had 12 stitches. Row number 10, we now have 10 stitches because we reduced 1 stitch on each side. We're now going to chain 1 and turn our work again for row number 11. We're going to continue decreasing stitches here, and we are now going to decrease all the way across. So we're going to go right into that very first stitch and begin a double crochet. Just like that, but we're not going to finish it. Now we're going to go into the next stitch and do the same thing. Okay, and pull through. And now we're going to go and reduce the next 2 stitches in the same fashion. So for row number 11, we are decreasing all the way across. Okay, so there's a decrease and decrease. So do that all the way to the end. So you should end up having 5 stitches at the end of row 11. Okay, so I'm at the end of row 11 and I've decreased all of those stitches. So now I have 5 stitches, and you can see a little bit that it's starting to curve up, which is exactly what we want. So we're now going to go on to row number 12. We're going to continue decreasing, and we're going to chain 1 and turn. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to decrease the first 2 stitches. And now because we have 5, the next stitch we are just going to place 1 double crochet. Okay, so we've got 1, so we had a decrease, and then we have just 1 individual double crochet, and now we're just going to decrease the final 2 stitches here. Just like that. So we've got 3 stitches left. And now our work, you can see it's just starting to curve up nicely. Okay, we're now going to start to form the ankle portion of our booty. Now I still have 3 stitches left here, and some people would reduce this right down to 1 stitch, but because of the size, I don't want the heel to extend that far out, okay? So what we're gonna do now is, you're gonna chain 2, 1 and 2, and we're gonna turn our work. So now we're going to work back across. This is the back of the heel here. So we are going to place a double crochet into that stitch, 1, and a double crochet into the next stitch. So that's 2, and a double crochet into the following stitch. So that's 3. Okay. And now we're going to work along the side of our heel here. So it goes up the way there before we get back up with the rest of the foot. So we've got the side of stitches to work into. Hopefully you can see that there. And we just want to find a spot that will sit nice and close to the previous stitch, but we don't want it to bunch or buckle. So I'm going to insert my hook right there, and that's at the top of the previous row right there. Could be snug because that's where we did a decrease. So that's 1. And now I'm going to go down the way and find another spot here. So that is the second one. Okay, just like that. And it's supposed to curl. So if you're finding that it's curling in, that is correct. So now we're going to find another spot here, and that is the base of one of the double crochets. The goal here is to keep these stitches sitting nice and even next to each other. And so I had 3 stitches across the heel. I've got 3 stitches that I worked now down the way. So I have 6 stitches. And I have 2 more rows here. So I want to see if I can fit another 4 stitches in here. So I want to place my hook there. So there's 7. There's another spot there. 8. There's 9. And there is 10. I'm going to try and pick up the loops of this stitch because I don't want to stretch out that spot there. Whoops. Okay, so now we've come up to the sharp corner here, I like to call it, and we are now going to do a decrease 3 together to just soften this little bend here. So we are going to place a double crochet. See how that kind of sits right, creates that corner? We want to go into the stitch before that. Now I went into the center of this double crochet, and usually there's a little spot there to go in there. So I'm just going to go in through here. I'm going to begin the first double crochet. Now I'm going to go into this corner. I'm going to pick up a loop and pull through 2. So we have 2 double crochets we have not resolved. Now I'm going to go into the next stitch and do the same thing and pull through 2 only. So I currently have 4 loops on the hook, and I have 3 stitches that have not been resolved. So now I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 4 of those loops, and that just snuggles that sharp corner in and makes it a bit more rounded. Now, if you're kind of like me and you don't like some of these little inadvertent gaps, it is bound to happen with this type of project. I sometimes go back later and I'll just whip stitch these a little bit more snugly together. It's not the end of the world though. Okay, so now we've got our 12 stitches across, which actually is probably 11 stitches now because we've taken up 1 here. So now we're just going to continue placing 1 double crochet into each of the next 10 stitches. Okay, so each of the next 10 stitches, that should leave us with 1 stitch here. See that last stitch? just before we hit that join, because we are going to do another decrease 3 together there. Okay, so I've just done those next 10 stitches across, and now I need to join this little corner here. So I'm going to begin a double crochet into the next stitch here. And I'm not going to resolve it. I'm going to go into this little corner type space here, pull up a loop. Oops, what's happening there? Okay, only go through two unresolved. And now I'm going to work into the sides of stitches again. So I'm just going to try and go in through. Okay, so I have 3 unresolved double crochets. Now I'm going to pull through all of them. So again, we're coming up around the bend. Now we've got these other few rows here. So we're going to work into the sides of the stitches. So we want to try and keep them nice and even. Generally, you can fit 2 stitches into the side of a double crochet stitch. So we have 1, and now we're going to work into the center of the next one. What gets a little tricky is because all of these edges started and ended with decreases, maybe a little trickier to follow that formula. So that's why I say just follow your eye and just make sure that your work is not bunching or buckling. Okay, so I'm just coming up to the end here. I've got my last stitch here. So I have done 7 stitches after that decrease, and that is the same thing we did on this side. So after the heel where we had 3 stitches, we did an additional 7, or I did anyway, until I got to the decrease here, the decrease 3 together. This number may vary if you are placing less stitches or more stitches along the sides of these heel rows. Sometimes it's tricky to see. So if you have 1 or 2 stitches that are different from mine, don't panic. The main thing is you want to make sure it sits nice and flush. See how it's not buckling or scrunched up? I know I'm on the right track. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slip stitch to join my round. And round 13 is complete. So we had rounds, then we had rows, we're back to rounds. So at the end of round 13, I have 30 stitches of cord. And remember, you might have a couple less, so do not worry. So we're going to continue on now to round 14. So now we're going to work up the ankle. And so as always, we're going to start by chaining 2, 1, and 2. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into the very next stitch. So we're going to ignore this chain 2 here, and we are going to double crochet into there. Okay. So we are going to place 1 double crochet into these first 8 stitches. So this is the first one. We're going to ignore where that chain 2 comes out of. So you're just going to place 1 stitch into each for 8 stitches. Okay, once you've done those 8 stitches, we've now come up to our little kind of corner again, and we want to do another decrease. We're going to decrease 3 together again. So into the following stitch, you will begin a double crochet, but don't finish it. Into the next stitch, so you can see where we did that previous decrease. So you're going to go into the next stitch, do the same thing, and then into the following stitch. So you always want to kind of start 3 of these stitches. See that? Now you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of them. And so we've just decreased 3 stitches into 1. And now you're just going to continue across the way for another 8 stitches before you get to the other side. So here's the 8th stitch. You can see where that decrease is. You're going to do the same thing. Decrease 1, 2, and 3 stitches together, okay? So once you get across and you've done this decrease, I'll meet up with you there. Okay, so I've just done these 8 across. I've done my decrease, and now I'm going to place 1 double crochet into each of the next 6 stitches. Okay, so we did a decrease each one of those corners, and actually we're going to do very subtle little decrease at the end here. So I'm just going to take you to the end. Okay, and so normally we would work into this because we're ignoring that chain 2. We're still ignoring it, but we're not going to place a stitch here. We're just going to go right ahead and slip stitch to join into the top of that next, or the first double crochet I should say, and complete round number 14. And so what we've done is we've just done a decrease, okay? So we've decreased the number of stitches without actually doing the official decrease loops. So now at the end of round 14, we should now have 24 stitches again. Remember how we had 24 stitches here? And so now you can see that the heel is kind of turned up, and now we're just ready to continuously work our ankle. So now all we're going to do, so we've just kind of come up, we finished this section, we finished our decreases here, and now all we're going to do is we're going to work the ankle up. You can make this as tall as you like. I like to keep them fairly short-ish, but just long enough that if you want to, you can do a cute little fold over just like that. Okay, so we are now just going to place 1 stitch into each stitch all the way around for the next 4 rounds. Okay, so we're now going on to round 15. So you're going to do 15, 16, 17, and 18. Okay, so you will start by chaining 2 as always, 1 and 2. There's no more decreases. And so we're just going to go right back into that same stitch and double crochet. Okay, and then just 1 stitch into each. Very easy and super quick. You can whip these up usually really quick, and it makes for a great add-on to any little baby outfit. Okay, so go ahead and finish the next 4 rounds, and then I'm going to meet it back up with you, and we're going to do that really sweet and easy little trim. Okay, so I've completed the next 5 rounds, and now we're just ready for our little trim, and our socks are going to be done. So let's bring back our white yarn. And you can see I've now picked up my 3.75 millimeter hook to do the trim. And again, it's also known as an F or a 5 for those of you that go by those labels. So we're going to begin by placing a slip knot on our hook. And I'm going to start right where the little seam is here, maybe a little bit before my join, or a little bit after I should say. And I'm going to slip stitch to join my yarn. Just like that. And now I'm going to chain 1, and right back into that same stitch I'm going to place a single crochet. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and then into the next stitch we're going to place a single crochet again. I'm going to try and work over that tail there. And then we're going to chain 2 again, and this is going to be the repeat all the way around. Into the next stitch we're going to place a single crochet, then chain 2, and that's it. Single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 2 into every single stitch. And that chain 2 just creates a little bit of a light ruffle effect, as you can see. And it's just going to flare out a little bit, just an added touch. And that's all we need to do for our final touch in our baby sock. So I'm going to leave you to finish that off, and then you will have completed your sock. And what you want to do is you're going to repeat the whole process again to create your second sock. Please keep in mind, anytime you're making two of something, it's never going to look exactly the same. And that's part of the beauty of having something handmade, is seeing the slight imperfections in it. So don't panic if one sock is slightly larger than the other or smaller than the other. Your tension sometimes changes as you continuously crochet. So I'm going to leave you there. And when I've completed both of my socks, I'll show you the pair. Okay guys, so I have finished my trim and it looks like this. And I've gone ahead and finished a second sock. So there you go. So you can see they're just slightly different. This one looks a little bit longer. That's the way it goes, whether you're making booties or mittens, anything in twos, never perfectly the same. But I'm really happy with how it came out. It's just this subtle, beautiful little texture, and it will be a great add-on to my baby outfit that I'm creating for a gift. And I'm just going to bring out my first pair that I had done. So I had done the first pair in the white with the green trim, and then this one we did green with the white trim. And this is an option too. You can just fold it down to create a little cuff there, and that's really sweet too. So I can do that with this one as well. And that's what I love about the baby sock design, is you can really make it look any which way that you like. And there you have it. Isn't that sweet? So these two are ready to be added to my baby gift, the baby socks nice and easy pattern. And as I mentioned before, if you want to, you can make it smaller by using a smaller size hook for the whole project. So you know how I use the 3.75 millimeter hook for the trim? If you had used this for the whole project, that actually will give you a slightly smaller sock. So, and also if you go down in yarn weight, as I'd mentioned previously, because this one's a lightweight number 3, if you did something like a fine weight number 1, and use like a 3.5 or a 3 millimeter hook, that's really going to help you decrease your size without you having to worry about a different count of stitches. And the same would work if you want it to be a little bit bigger. So just a little reminder there on some little techniques you can use for resizing. I hope that you found this pretty straightforward on understanding the structure of creating the sock. And now you can make as many pair as you like. So if you have any further questions about this tutorial, make sure to leave them for me in the comment box down below. Or you can always reach me directly at info@crochetcrafty.com. And don't forget, if you haven't already, come visit me on the website at Crochet Crafty and sign up for my monthly newsletter, because there's a lot of behind the scenes pics and videos, as well as the fact that I always gift you a free written pattern every month. And don't forget to visit me on my Etsy shop at Crochet Crafty Canada for more crochet patterns. I'm slowly working on building up my inventory there. And come and say hi to me. I'm on the socials at Instagram and Facebook at The Stitch Sessions. And please do tag me in your photos. I am always delighted to check out what you've done with my designs in terms of the color choices. I love seeing the designs in different colors and different colorways. So make sure you do that. And if you're new here and you've enjoyed hanging out with me today, please consider pressing that subscribe button. Come hang out with me every week. I upload a brand new video every Wednesday morning. And if you like this type of tutorial and or video, make sure to give me a thumbs up, and that lets me know I'm on the right track with the types of projects that you guys want to continue seeing from me. So if you'd like to see me do more baby items, then definitely give me a thumbs up, and I will be creating more for you in the future. And I do have some more en route to you guys very, very soon. So in the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed this. Have an amazing day. Happy crocheting. Take good care of yourselves as always, and I look forward to seeing you guys in next week's session. Bye-bye.